Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie. Thank you for clicking on my YouTube channel. Well, today's review and my personal takeaway is on the popular 2001 nonfiction book, The Highly Sensitive Person by author Elaine N. Aron, PhD. This 18-year-old book at the time of this taping in October 2019 had a wait list for it at the library. Even just reading the 5 pages of the preface will be useful. Now for the book review and my personal takeaway. The Highly Sensitive Person, or HSP, is someone who is much more aware of the physical and non-physical subtle details of everyday life that others don't notice right away or at all. HSPs are more sensitive to stimuli and more likely to become overwhelmed than others. They also have a rich inner life. They comprise about 20% of the population, and there is a range within that group from mild to extreme. Some telltale signs listed in the book that indicate you might be a highly sensitive person include feeling overwhelmed by doing too many activities, overwhelmed by chaos, more easily over-aroused by positive or negative stimulation, usually considerate, usually anxious, usually conscientious, prefer spiritual world over the physical world, dissatisfied with organized religion, introverted, intuitive, silent during breaks in activities to reflect, usually creative, and usually thoughtful. The self-test on page XXI at the beginning of the book helps you see if you might be an HSP, a highly sensitive person. 2 of the items on the true-false test are, other people's mood affect me, I try hard to avoid making mistakes or forgetting things. The author writes that when speaking to audiences of highly sensitive people, not only are they silent, but there is an almost sacred feeling, like being in a forest. The author Elaine N. Aron writes that she herself is a highly sensitive person who had to face and overcome, quote, fear, over-arousal, and discomfort almost every day, unquote, at midlife. Before that, she tried to avoid the outside world. According to the author, highly sensitive people can become, quote, too in, as in inhibited or withdrawn like she was, or, quote, too out, as in pushing yourself too hard. Throughout the book, she highly encourages and even implores highly sensitive people to embrace who they are and see themselves as the thoughtful, cautious advisors they are, as part of the priest class as compared to the warrior king class. That group is more insensitive, more physical world oriented, and do not necessarily stop to think things through or consider all the consequences. She states the 2 groups help each other. The author offers tips for highly sensitive people to recognize their gifts and manage their overwhelming and sad negative feelings that may come from getting bullied or from any other overstimulation coming towards them. The managing and coping tips include, just know that the more you go out and do, the less overwhelmed and sensitive you will feel about those situations. Do things your way, called individuation, and not the non-HSP way. Allow extra time in the day for reflection or to recover from jet lag. Allow extra time for breaks to reflect when doing a lot of activities or a long activity. Take a sleep vacation. Go in or near water. Take a walk since the rhythm is soothing. Slow breathing. Inhale like blowing out a candle. Remember that the mind imitates the body. Stand straight and balanced. See yourself from a bird's eye point of view. And finally, close your eyes. Those are just a few tips from the book. One of the items listed under, quote, tips for teachers working with highly sensitive students is, quote, teach students respect for different temperaments as you would for other differences, unquote. Some tips under tips for employers of highly sensitive people are, 1. Highly sensitive people are highly conscientious and loyal, among other things, and make ideal employees. 2. They dislike self-promotion. And 3. They are first to notice workplace issues before those issues develop and become problems. There is a section on the book on deciding whether or not to take antidepressants, which often get prescribed for highly sensitive people. Part of the author's advice is to notice if you want to take antidepressants to get through a crisis or to change your personality. The author references the books Listening to Prozac by author Peter Kramer and Talking Back to Prozac by authors Peter and Ginger Breggin. There is another terrific section of the book about the influence on babies born highly sensitive. They especially need to feel secure to go out and explore, and they may be especially more vulnerable if a victim of abuse or neglect. There is a chapter called Close Relationships, the Challenge of Sensitive Love, which has do's and don'ts for reflective listening, such as reflect back actual feelings and do not give advice. Chapter 8 is titled Healing the Deeper Wounds, a Different Process for HSPs. The author states that HSPs are at a greater risk for depression and even suicide. One suggestion in this chapter is if you decide to see a therapist, do not commit to one within the first few sessions. Take your time. Some items on the long list assessing the wounds of childhood are: you were intrusively overprotected, your parents were unhappy with your sensitivity, you were physically or sexually abused, you were dominated by a parent or someone else, someone close to you died, you had to take care of one or more parents, and you did not have enough to eat. These are some of the items on the list. It's a very long list. There is much more in this terrific book as well, which gives food for thought. Throughout this book, The Highly Sensitive Person by author Elaine N. Aron, PhD, the author writes directly and engagingly about how highly sensitive people feel, how to detect it in yourself and others, the importance of embracing it, and helpful tips on managing your HSP traits to help others and flourish. There are a few pages of notes and an index at the end of the book. Well, in closing, I highly recommend this book to anyone who considers themselves or someone close to them a highly sensitive person, or works with or goes to school with highly sensitive people. The recognition of traits and tips for flourishing can make this book both a comfort and a great reference for many. Feel free to comment below and even subscribe. I appreciate all of it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you again on the next video.